I'm a black man and I vote because my ancestors couldn't.
I'm Tori Edwards, 1/3 of Atlanta Influences Everything. I'm a co-founder. People always see us as a apparel brand. We're really a consultancy, and we believe in what's called the 3 C's. The 3 C's is taking corporate entities and combining it, or having corporate entities support the culture and use the influence of the culture and the dollars from corporate brands to solve problems in our community. Those are the 3 C's. And with that said, we just wanted to jump in and get involved and have our voices heard in this space around voting and around this voting conversation. So I'm 47. I'm an entrepreneur. Like I said, I'm a co-founder of Atlanta Influence Everything, if you've heard of it or not. But we're here just to kind of open the space to these guys. Everybody sitting here has some valid things to say or valid feelings around voting, and we just want to open the floor to it. So we're going to start on this side. Give us your name, age, where you live, what you do.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Jackie Love, aka Chili Chills. I live in Mechanicsville, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a serial student of the game and a philanthropist, an activist in my community, a recording artist, and I'm a father. I'll be 30 this year. That's a little bit about myself.
I'm Sage Guillory. I'm a visual artist, painter, muralist / designer / a lot of things. I got a couple pieces in here. I don't know if you've seen them.
My name is Trans Lee, rap artist, overall just conversationalist, entrepreneur. I have a brand called An Inner Peace Outer Glow, 37. Yeah, rapper, entrepreneur, writer, songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Jaden Mason. I am 23 years old. I'm a student and a writer. I'm from Decatur, East Side.
So my name's Gray, official PBD Gray, if you're Googling. I'm a hip hop artist, social entrepreneur, father. I live in Atlanta, and I'm 37.
Okay.
So what I think is really interesting is mostly everybody here is creative, young and creative, and you live in or around the Atlanta area, or you're a native, like Chili Chills. And Atlanta's been a hotbed around just voting since the last election cycle because, like we say, Atlanta does influence everything, and I think we showed that. And I don't want to take anything from the people who actually pushed us over the line, and that was Clayton County. Shout out to them. But Atlanta as a whole has this sort of thing, and I think everything we have to say about this, you can find kind of this microcosm in Atlanta of just how black people live overall across the nation. So we really be speaking for everybody. But young black males are important, especially in this cycle, because although we're registered, we're not really turning out the way we should. And I think we're trying to open the floor to understand why. Why aren't we turning out? Everybody has the opportunity, or I don't want to say the responsibility because I'm not preaching to anybody, but what I'm saying is you do have something in your possession of value, which is your voice, and your voice is your vote. So do you guys plan to use it? Trans, how you feel about it?
I think one thing that kind of stops a lot of people, or I would say black men, is we're not together on a whole lot of things. We don't really move as one with a whole lot of things. And I'm not saying that all black men have to be on the same page, but we have to be all on the same page about doing something. You know, like whether you, like, hey, whether you feel this way about this candidate or this way about that candidate, at least we both all on the same accord that we voting. You know what I mean? Because I think growing up, a lot of times, especially if you're in certain neighborhoods or certain like impoverished areas, you feel like voting doesn't do anything. So actually being able to see your brothers move in unison, actually seeing it happen is something I think could change that, but you got to see it happen first.
Right. One thing I thought was interesting when we first started putting these talks together one of the first people we actually reached out to just to check the tone was this brother right here, Jackie Love, Chili Chills, straight from Mechanicsville. Like, we know Mechanicsville. We've been down in Mechanicsville. We know what it is. It's the hood. And we felt like he was an honest, an authentic voice for the people that we want to cut through to. Text him. You remember the text?
Yeah,
Yo, bro,
sure.
what you think about
Right.
voting?
Yeah, for sure.
What? I ain't really interested. Why not? Because we think it's cap. Explain that. Why? Like,
I'm loving to piggyback off of Trans Lee's vulnerability about we don't really believe it does anything. Because that's just a fact. Like, let's just be vulnerable and frank. People where we from and how we live and the culture as we know it to really be versus the one we present, it's two different ones.
Right.
Even the ones who act like we know they're of the culture, but however, perhaps it's some type of incentive that has them involved.
right.
That's unbeknownst to the people that they're asking for participation for their vote to lead whichever direction they see fit.
Right.
So I think, honestly, as great as we could be with our vocabulary and our ability to communicate, energy don't lie. So the real root of culture feels like it's cap. However, to piggyback off what he was saying, it's a lot of things growing up as a kid that we just feel we have to do because we're indoctrinated to a mindset.
Right.
So perhaps what he was saying is a solution. If there is a way where the leaders of a community start to vote, the kids will instinctually feel endeavored to do the same thing when they get older.
Right.
So that's how I can speak to that.
Anybody?
It's interesting because I do feel like I was in some of those talks about like what this campaign was and what we were trying to do with it, and it was weird because it's like you're trying to strike this balance between meeting people where they are and talking about like, let's try to be real and let's try to not pander to people,
Right,
but then also recognizing that like where you are might not be it's not a place that's working, right? For good or bad. And so it's interesting to me as like we move forward with this, how do we like, because it does start, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, you have to bring up that next generation with a different set of values. But it's like, I think it's so messed up because we were talking about, there was a piece that we talked about like retelling the narrative, I guess, right? And so often it's that black men or black people are excluded from politics, but to me, that's just like never been true. It's not that we have been intrinsically a part of politics. People have attempted to exclude us, but we have always, like you look at all these figures and you can name anybody and the statements that they're making, the ways that they're living, as a fact of being black, you have that like burden of making a political statement. And if you choose not to make that statement, you're just kind of making a different statement at the same time. It's interesting. So.
Yeah.
Just by walking outside as a black person, you're making a political statement. That's
Literally.
crazy.
Wow.
I just think, we're not written into the Constitution as human beings. We're more listed as property. And if we understand that America, is listed as a corporation, I'm trying to answer the question on why we're not voting. If it's listed as a corporation would never allow you to choose their president. The same reason why last 4 years, whatever, Hillary got more votes, but Trump still got in, they put systems like that in place because it don't matter at the executive level. I feel like left wing, right wing, same chicken.
Pipe dream.
At the local level is where we can do damage, be a force. I think that as a political power, we have the spending power to pour back into us, but the damage that was done to us, every other group of people moved together and moved their way up into politics. The number that they did on us, the divisiveness and stuff, like, again, if we seen it done, where we all come together, yeah, of course, we get hip, but I just think that, I think on a grand scale, we just feel like nothing's gonna happen at the executive level that's gonna just change the situation for black folks unless we really put our economic power together. And because it's racism, it's a race. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. We need to start looking at each other like we playing in a game, like we on the same team.
Yeah.
Every other group of people do the same, but we don't. You know what I mean? We know why, but I think that's.
And
So, in that, so you understand, maybe at the executive level, you see there is cap to that point, but on the local level is where maybe we do have influence. So that means there is value in it. So how do you plan to move forward with it, with your vote? Is it, okay, this thing has value? Do we say, all right, I don't know if there's a collective consciousness, or it's just, hey, listen, these things are good for me and my family as they are for you and yours. So maybe do you feel like holding out is it to you get what you need for you and yours, or is it participate? You do believe in participating in the process?
At the local level,
Yeah.
The year before I voted for Killer Mike, just to be honest. You do what I'm saying? I put his
Shout
name
out to
on
Mike.
there. And then it's just real talk, because it don't really matter at that point.
Right.
But knowing who the local judges are, the DA,
Right.
like that's important. And I can't say I've done my due diligence to know exactly who that is in my district.
Yeah.
But that's where we have the best shot to make change, is at the
Okay.
local level. That's how I feel.
And I feel like what you said, who's in our district, right? I feel like growing up, you don't hear about voting for, I'll just say this. My first time voting, I was the age you're supposed to be, 18. And when I went to vote for, whoever my aunt told me to vote for, right? I get there, I'm thinking I vote for one person. I see all these different people, and I'm like, okay, who I'm gonna vote for? Okay, I'm gonna vote for whoever black. Who black? Democrat. So I voted for all these people, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know nobody because nobody taught me anything. So I feel like if people go into the ballots or casting their ballots to vote, it needs to be people, or we need to be educated on, this is who makes this happen. This is who makes this happen. What do you find important? Okay, this is who can influence that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it needs to be conversations happening in schools, or maybe just at a parent, kid level. You know what I mean? We need to know.
But that's what's so interesting about it, because I also am local government to me is still a mystery. I don't I get that it matters, but how it fits together. It's much more it's easier for me to think about the federal government than it is local government, because how they talk to each other, I don't even know. But the whole thing is that what's so sad about the conversation around black men and voting and the black community and voting, about it not mattering, to me is a direct result of the lack of education on why the State House matters, why the governor matters, why county commissioner matters, why superintendent matters. And that stuff was that's what's not being funded from schools. That is what.
Don't you think that's interesting how at a lower level we know less, right?
Yeah.
And at a higher level it's okay, we need to vote for the president. You know what I'm saying? It's the stuff that really affects us,
Person
we
is
don't
down
really
the
know
street from
much.
you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We got to
yeah.
do more research to figure out, rather than everything that's all over CNN or Fox or whatever. It's okay, we need to pick this person because this person is black or a woman, or we have some sort of connection with them that we can feel. You know what I mean? And even that is okay, you got a connection, you don't even know this person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to do more research to figure out what the hell going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No.
And the crazy thing is, it's as simple as going to City Hall and going to some of the things that they got stuff going on all the time. It's people ain't there until it's 2 Chainz and Killer Mike are showing up to City Hall to fight for the clubs, and now it's packed.
Right.
But every other day it's
Right. And this stuff is happening all the time.
All the
I think
time.
that's part of maybe the lack of participation has a lot to do with people just being discouraged. When you can't find the answer to something, you're more likely to be to hell with it.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know. And I understand what it's like to want to know something and know that the answer to a question can help me out. But if I don't know where to begin to find that
It's
answer,
tough, yeah.
you just say, fuck it, honestly.
Yeah.
A lot of times. And I think we catch ourselves doing that a lot.
on top of just trying to survive every day.
Right.
Most, especially black men, are every day trying to survive, much less worry about politics.
Yeah.
Even though worrying about politics could help your survival,
Right.
but
but then there's just this weight.
Yeah.
Like all of that together gets like, it's like there have been times where it's like you're watching whatever thing happened on the news, but you're at work, at school, doing something, and then you get home and you're like, do I go and read about the thing that happened on the news and like then have to get up at 8 o'clock tomorrow to do the same thing and stay up reading about like, because that's the tragic thing is that you look for these resources too, and the sad thing is the way that most of them are formatted. Like Ballotopedia is like a good website if you like want to try, but it's, as someone who studied politics, was into politics, it still doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
And there was this thing that I was at the state capitol for the other day, and they were passing out this form, and I was like, okay, so these are the bills that are voting for, and they were like, I don't know, man. And then you look at the date, and it's from these. And the sad thing is that this lack of a bridge between the information and the people that need it is the thing that's keeping people in power and keeping the communities poor and keeping the wealth, whatever. And so it's like, it's weird because it's like, how do we change what rebellion looks like? You know, that to me is what it is.
Right.
Which is, well, I want to piggyback off what y'all saying. Like, one day it's gonna come a time where a radical young man gonna come across the proper information to distribute to the people, and I think deep down, like that's how the hood feel.
Yeah.
Like they feel like when it's time, when the generation of thought is, you know, evolved to that extent. I'm just giving y'all the real. That's how the hood really feels. Like when it get to that point, it will happen. Another Martin Luther King will be born.
Tupac.
You know, Pop.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the case may be for the next generation of thought.
But it's someone who speaks like that. It's not someone who's like saying, oh, and then this is why like whatever.
Nah.
That's why
Nah.
Tupac won, because he was talking that, but he was speaking straight to the bottom. You know what I mean? So, like you said, it almost has to be another one of those has to be birthed.
Right. So
But-
so to his point, in the hood, the feeling is the only way for this to change or there to be at the needle to move is through disruption. It's not gonna happen through the process. The process of going through it. I think
Process
the
is
hood more
design.
believes in the disruption of it than actually going through it, which can be true on both sides. But I mean, I just don't think it would be so much confusion and pushback on whether or not we vote if what we did had no value, if it couldn't move the needle. Like, we're all sitting here for a reason, because we are actually the people who can move the needle if we get on the same page. That's, you know, that's how I see it.
That might be the design, though, right? The design is to not let the people who know that they're powerful let them know that they're powerful.
Yeah.
So I know we all know that, but it's just like, well, we know that, so it's almost like we facing the same problem, different time period of our ancestors. You know, where we like, how do we affect now? How do we make the present a real gift of like not wasting our youth?
Right.
You know what I mean, in the present moment. And I think that like, it's not necessarily, I wanted to speak on the word disruption. I don't really think it's disruption. I think it's more like, for lack of a better word, I would like to say it's something like turbulence. And on the flight to the destination, it's only natural to find turbulence on your route there. So I think, you know, the only way to indicate that we need to either elevate to a higher level so this could smooth out is through that turbulence. You know what I mean? Not to say that turbulence should make the plane crash. No, not at all. I'm not mad at the right or the left wing. I'm just trying to get to my destination.
Was that on purpose? That was pretty good.
I don't know. It's just, you know, it's just what it is.
No, that's
you know what I'm
dope.
saying? So that's how I could kind of put it from my
that's
perspective.
No, yeah, I get that.
I think that's, again, it's just like, I don't know. It's so, because I pose this question to you guys, right? So it's like, so participating in the system the way it's designed is what, because I think that to me is the biggest change that needs to be made, right? This idea that staying home is a rebellion to me is like, that's doing what they want you to do. Like that is the thing that they designed the whole thing to get you to be like, nah man, I'm just fucking tired and this doesn't matter to me and whatever. When in reality it does. It's like, but I don't know necessarily, and this would be interesting to maybe talk about, like what are the steps to get us there, right? Like it's good to. I think we all agree sort of on the problem.
You know, when you get the same result, what they say insanity is doing the same thing all the time, hoping for a new result. It's insanity for us to continue the way we've been. And the one thing we haven't tried is doing it together. Like we've never been on the same accord as black men. Like it's always been, you know, the street guys versus the educated guys, light skin versus dark skin, colorism. You know, it's just so many places to divide the pie, and we've never thought about just baking it together. And I think that's probably the one thing that'll probably move the needle.
To be completely honest, I think democracy as we know it is dying. But that's a whole nother story. But I do think though, when we do stand together and then vote, I think the biggest part, at least from my perspective, is we see like Raphael Warnock, we all band together, got him in, what was that 2 years ago, 2-3 years ago, and it's like we do all that and we make this big thing and we get the person in and then we get lulled back to sleep.
Right.
And then you don't see him anymore. You don't see him pop up on your TV no more. You don't know what the hell Raphael Warnock's doing until it's time for him to vote again. Then he's back on your TV screen like, hey, I need your vote again.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you did the last 2 years. Not saying that you did anything wrong or you did.
Not saying you did anything right either.
You're not saying you did anything right, and I may be in the wrong for not doing my due diligence to seek out what he's been doing too. But it's like it's not. It should be in my face. Like when you need my vote, it's in your face.
I agree with that. I think that's a great point.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But I also believe in taking accountability.
Yeah.
We don't care when they go. Like when they leave, we just go back to, you know, our regular schedule.
Because we have our kumbaya moment.
Yeah, it's the kumbaya. We lock arms and we come, but you definitely have to stay engaged.
But I do think this is the set, and you sounded like you had something to say. Can I do something quick? Okay. But I think that's what the crazy thing about it to me is that it's like, and it's hypocritical talking about it here, but like, you really do only hear from people starting in like midsummer of election time, right? Like maybe even around now, like right around when football season starts of an election year, you start seeing the ads.
They at the church with you, with the arm around you. At church.
No, but it's like you could do that ad. My thought about it is you would, especially for these people that in doing some due diligence have a track record of being pro-black, you could do those same ads like year round about this is what I did this week, and then not have to spend as much money in this like freaking 2-3 month period.
Smart.
I don't know.
But that's like a artist you may not hear from until you're ready to drop an album. You know, it's just
because it's almost like
in the studio. They in the studio.
But then whenever the fans ain't don't know about you or ain't rocking with you, you got to deal with that too. Everybody ain't Kendrick Lamar, you know what I mean?
You're right.
Our folks go away. The algorithm ain't gonna be friendly to you.
But the dropping the album isn't November. That's not when the thing, like, that's when the society's album drops, but when, what's his name's, Raphael Warnock's album drops, or when Stacey Abrams' album drops, that's like in May, when they're talking about Dobbs versus Jackson or whatever, right?
That's when they're campaigning to let you know the album's coming out in November.
I don't know, but it's
I need you to go cop.
Go cop that.
Let's go talk about this issue that I'm fighting. They go to work every day to do something, right? And maybe they're not doing anything, and maybe that's like the thing to talk about. But it's like there are things that happen that they're trying to do that they're not talking about until like too soon. And to me, it always just reads as like you don't feel like people have memory about that thing.
Right.
Like people think that you only have to talk to people right around November or they won't remember. It's like, I don't know if that's the way that works. I would love to see, and I think there is accountability, but I do think it is fair to critique the way that they've been doing things.
Absolutely, I agree.
To piggyback off what y'all are saying, it's like, okay, we say how our people divide each other and do things of that nature, but what is politics but Democrats and Republicans? It's almost like a human thing, but it's like we use ourselves as an example of our own trauma to let people watch us decipher what's the right and wrongs, when in reality, everybody, no matter what race, what gender, on whatever level, they doing it too. It's a human thing. So I just wanted to speak on that because, you know, I got to defend our people a little bit. You know what I mean? And then Something else I wanted to speak to, being that I am from the hood, and I just want to speak on behalf of it, because you speaking on accountability. Like, there's not much information other than the ones that you can go search a course and do your own research. But, you know, we learn through media. Let's be honest. We learn through the TV. We learn through the platforms like our TV shows, that all the platforms that those are on. So personally, like, I watch House of Cards. You know what I'm saying, just to try to learn what I might not know, right? And then I'm like, well, it's a show. I don't really want to take too much of this into consideration. But some of our favorite, you know, candidates and, you know, people who have had high positions in politics, that's their favorite show too. So, you know, it's not that we don't yearn for that knowledge, but I feel like a part of the problem is we gotta catch the kids, like strike while the iron's hot. You know what I mean? So more or less, if the iron gets hot when a person is about to drop their album, let's metaphorically put it to the politicians about to ask us to vote, maybe that's the time that we educate the kids, or we do something culturally where we find something that the kids could latch on to, and they could do what we didn't get done for us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm just trying to find some type of solution, but also speak to, you know, in defense of our people a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well, speaking about defending our people, when we say our people, a lot of times we talking about seeing ourselves, and I think sometimes we forget about our women, our sisters. Like, here's a question to pose to all of y'all. We're gonna go through this quickly.
Okay.
Do y'all think y'all sexist?
Yeah.
Do you think you're sexist?
Sexist?
Yes.
What's your definition of that?
Yeah.
Before I answer.
Do you
think you innately see things strictly through a male lens? Like, you really not, you don't have as much empathy
For me,
women?
I think no. My bad.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
For me, I think, like, because I was raised by all women, right? All women. I ain't really know men around, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I see women working hard every day. I trust these women. You know? I see men coming in and out of their lives, right? Don't trust them. Grew up not trusting men even more. You know what I'm saying? So I see women handling things every day.
Right.
I got so many strong women in my life. You know what I mean? I look at these people like, damn, like, I want to be like you. You know what I'm saying? So when, as far as like a woman rising to power, whatever, I'd rather that. You know what I mean? Because women don't have certain motives. You know what I'm saying? They're not driven by only their urges. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's a fact.
I feel like I am sexist, and I feel like I don't think that that's because I don't choose to be sexist. I think totally, but it's like one of these things where it's like, to me, that question is answered by like how it's kind of like sexism is this thing that you are always trying to make yourself less of, I guess, right? It's not one of these things that I think you can just immediately, because it's so intertwined with everything in society, you can't just immediately meet someone or wake up one day and realize that, you know what, no, women are equal. You have to like recognize how like the things that you're doing and the things that you're talking about and the way that you're criticizing people
That's what I was,
is, and so to me, being not sexist is like a journey as opposed to like a thing that I never was, because I think everyone is born sexist. Just like everyone is like, not born, but like raised, just because that's the way the world is.
And it's like, it takes a level of maturity in clicking, because I would say this, like I've been at not knowing, just living life and just how things are presented to you growing up. It's like you will say things or make comments until you mature to the level of, oh, that's not right, or have someone point that out, like, yo, it's just little simple stuff, like, that we say every day.
I think it's hard, like, to your point, I hear a lot of brothers say that, like, I was raised by women. I mean, that's like somebody saying they can't be racist because they married to a black person, or they're married to a white person.
Raised by a black person, that was what happened.
Or raised, like,
all that generation was raised by black people.
I don't think that completely cancels it out, and that's not to take anything from what you just said. I just like to at least leave it open for debate, or just the thought of it, saying, you know, maybe I am. Because there's certain things I swear I'm not sexist to me, but my daughter will be like, Daddy, you're sexist.
And I learned a lesson.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, I said a couple years back, right? Like, as far as like leaving the toilet seat up, right? my mom always be like, or whatever woman you're around, oh, you gotta tell us why is it? Like, why they so mad about this? Why they so mad?
We
about
don't
this?
know.
And then one day,
You fall in.
One day I was like, you know what? Let me look this shit up. Like, why they mad? So I look it up. I found a paper somebody wrote when they were talking about like patriarchy that exists and all this shit, right? And so many things are harder for women. You know what I'm saying? We might as well make it easier for them by, put the toilet seat down. Like little stuff, you know what I mean? So that's probably like a microaggression of sexism, I feel like.
Right.
But we have a lot of those, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You got the definition of how you feel.
I agree with him. Like, I grew up around all women. You know what I mean? Like, I can't take away from the fact that I was born into a society that had a mindset that boys are stronger than girls, or whatever. Like, be a little gentle or whatever the case may be. But okay, you're not gonna ask a child to lead the nation. So we talking adult stuff. So therefore, the only adult in the home in the hood for real that don't bail out on you
Woman.
is a woman.
Yeah.
When you grow up and you ready to face these facts, I'd rather trust her, and maybe she have a emotional outburst or something. Who cares? At least it's genuine. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't think I'm sexist. You know what I'm saying? And I think, to be honest, in the black man community, like, we got to be more tapped into our feminine side sometimes. Like, sometimes dudes be being too masculine with their energy to be open-minded about the things that we need to fix. You know what I mean? So maybe that'll make us
Is that not
protect
part
our...
of sexism, do you think?
I think that we are all spirits having a human experience. So that when you having this human experience, you didn't choose your body, you didn't choose none of this, so you just dealing with what you got. So therefore, it's not her fault she's a woman, just like it's not my fault I'm a man.
Right.
So that gives me that sensitivity towards opening my mind, but that came with maturity, because I was once ignorant and just out here just being a young cat. You know what I mean? So more or less, that's why I don't think I'm sexist, and I think honestly, all of us, it's like our responsibility a little bit more. And that's a great question, big dog. Like,
No doubt.
I think it's our responsibility to be the change we want to see, you know what I mean, in certain regards.
And I'm saying that because it's so much in this cycle that we need to open ourselves up to be able to be of service to our women. It's like you got reproductive laws. In order for us to even give the election itself a fair shake, you got to be able to see a woman as a general. You got to be able to even see that. But I think because of the traumas and what we've been through in the black community, so many broken homes, so many men growing up without male examples and having women as their leaders, I think we are the ones who can, honestly, we have more the ability than other people to see women through equal lens. I think we just are. We've been more accustomed to it just through the hood and growing up. People, I had my father, but most of my cousins and friends did not. So I understand. I spent a lot of time in households where people wasn't no man around. But my pops was like everybody's pops. That out of my friends. So I could relate. I get it, but that's not 100% my story. But I do see how we can be the ones that move the needle on that. But one, we got to be willing to get up and participate, and two, we got to be able to see everything. We got to see the scope, the full scope of what it is. And that's just my thought.
Speaking on that though, like, you had, you had your mom in your life?
Absolutely. Yeah.
See how I had my pop. Yeah. But it's like automatic for us to know mom was there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But there's even I think what's interesting now too is that there's even this sort of other side of that is a positive feeling for most people. But there's this, sometimes I think, and I'd be curious to get thoughts, other flip side of that positive feeling that's because it's now that black women's duty is to be there for you. And it's very interesting to me, and the life experiences that I've had, which is the people that I've met in certain situations, you kind of the ways that you see that especially young 15 to 25 women have to adapt to sometimes playing whatever role in whatever kind of situation because like we don't give them that full like humanity. Like it's either you are sexist and you're like you're not as good as me, or you're like up on this pedestal. And it's like, to me, and of course like you have to like unpack all these things like the wage gap and whatever else.
Right.
But like, and that's not saying none of that, I'm not saying any of that isn't real and isn't important. But what I am saying is that there is this like fundamental lack of a recognition of humanity and the totality of like what our women can be. Like the complaints that get leveled at our female politicians would never, like, I can't stand people talk about Hillary Clinton being mean back in the day. Just because I'm like, she in theory was maybe mean, but not for like all people that you've ever met. Like on the range of people, Hillary Clinton is not like a mean presenting person. If she was a man, she would have been completely fine. Yeah, literally. And her qualifications would have been like, oh, well, she gets to be mean. That's what people would have been saying. Look at how qualified she is. She gets to, I don't know how many times people in my life have told me, they get to talk to you like that because they earned it. But we don't extend that same courtesy to our women.
Good point. So bringing it home, I'm gonna get everybody out of here, but I just want to end off with just a direct question. What are you gonna do with your vote? Are you gonna participate? We kind of run the gamut. We know that we can move the needle collectively. We have the power to do that. Are we gonna participate? Chili Chills.
I'm gonna do my research and pick my best pick, and I'm gonna rally and galvanize the squad once I'm properly equipped with the real knowledge of what I want to know. And once I do that, I can assess my decision better from there.
All right, brother. We almost there, so jump on it.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I agree with him. Like, I'm gonna do my research. You know what I'm saying? Vote for who I need to vote for. You know, but really do my research though. Like, not just vote for one person. Vote for the levels. You know what I mean? Because I used to not care about voting like at all. I was like, oh, it's all cap. Like, I don't believe in that. But you know, he just passed away recently. I got an uncle. He was like 80, 84, or whatever. And he was alive in like, you know, segregation in Louisiana, like all that. So he was like, yeah, like, you know, you have to do this. Like, I used to get beat for trying to do this. You know what I mean? So I got an extra, like, you know, extra motivation, extra little fire for like, okay, like, if I have the right to do this, I might as well practice it. You know what I mean? Whether I completely believe that it's gonna change something or not. You know what I mean? Just, you know, exercise it.
That's deep, bro.
Trey.
I think for me, I have this thing sometimes where I can't help but to do it. It's like this lesser of the two evils type of thing. So as far as my vote and as far as Stacey and Kemp, Stacey has my vote. I'm not afraid to say that, just because I just look at that as a lesser of the two evils. And I like her temperament. I like the things that she says. So it's like I rock with her. All the other things that I do a lot of my research on, that's one thing I think we've talked about what's needed to be done, but we all have to actually go do that and see what's going on in the local stuff. So.
I think I'm definitely gonna vote. I think as someone who's like, I've kind of always been interested in politics and like people and connections and the organization of that. But I think recently I've gotten out of the habit of like trying to have these conversations with like my friends that aren't, because it kind of feels like pulling teeth to like get people to be like, to sit down with you and be like, oh, whatever, like, and even to just get that negative opinion out of them and whatever, like. So I think I'm gonna vote, but I'm also gonna try to have some more of these kind of conversations with people that don't want to have them.
Yeah, I'm definitely going, you know, I vote at the local level, you know, I help. I see who they up against, and it's a clown circus to me.
Great to go in there and write in somebody's name.
You know what I'm saying? But I think,
Killer Mike.
I think like, in order for our vote to actually work, we got to move as a community after that vote goes in. If we don't move as a community after that vote, nothing's going to happen. So my more importance as to getting people out to vote is to start moving as a community first. Let's start spending with each other first before we reach across and ask for help. Let's look to our left and right and be strong first. Once we strong, then we sit our strong ass at that table ready for some politics. But until then, like, I feel like the more fight is like us, knowing that this is a team sport, bro.
Straight up,
we gotta be on. Are we a team first? All right, we're gonna go ahead and do this vote.
Yeah,
Now, when
yeah,
I put this vote in, don't back out on me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna vote for sure. I'll do more research on it like that.
That's dope, man. I love that, man. I love to just sit here and chop it up with y'all, man. It's beautiful. You know, we black men, we can change everything, change the world, and we've been doing it. You know, so just to give y'all some inspiration, even when you see the needle moving slowly, we've been changing the world, and we're gonna continue. Bring it in.
All right.
Let's go, man.
And then up, yeah.
I'm a black man and I vote because my ancestors couldn't.